Hi. This is going to be a pretty quick one, mostly because my husband's mowing the lawns and my son will no doubt want me in a moment. But there's been a lot of conversation around how to keep our relationships healthy and happy at the moment when we're in lockdown, and even if you're not in lockdown, like there's a lot of tension and stress in the world, clearly. And what I want to speak about today is partly to do with that. How to be happy and still in love in this current situation in our relationships. But this really is valid for any time, because relationships really can be difficult. And what I'm going to speak of today is something that is so easy to drop in our relationships, and it's fundamental to staying happy and to staying in love. And funnily enough, it's also one of the fundamental keys to being able to be in love in a relationship and still stay on your spiritual path. Now, for some people that may not be an important element, but I know certainly for myself and for a lot of people that I work with too, it's a hugely important element. I know for me, in the times when I've been single, I've been really diligent and extremely dedicated on my spiritual path. And then when I go into relationships, I tend to start off there and then quickly kind of slide. And I've spent a long time in my life and in my work working on that and trying to find how they come together, and they can come together. And that's why there's a whole kind of piece of work that I've been working on to deliver to people around having our relationship as a crucible for change. And that change might be personal development, or it might be spiritual evolution. Now, those of you who've worked with me or listened to me before will know that I don't advocate for a relationship being the place for constant, painful, karmic growth. And the reason for that is, for me, I understand or believe that my relationship is a place of peace and solitude. It's a place to come back to rest and rejuvenate. And having said that, if it's a place where we're going to be all the time and be putting all of our energy, it still needs to be, if we're on a spiritual path or an evolutionary path, it still needs to be a place for change. And so how do we bring all those elements together? I'm going to speak about just one element of that today, and that is to love your partner. Now, that might sound like a no-brainer, but it's one of the things that we very quickly step out of in relationships. And it's not our fault. I haven't met many people, I could probably say any, but let's just be conservative. I haven't met many people who have grown up in an environment where they are loved unconditionally and in a healthy way. Again, that's not our parents' fault. It's the conditioning of the world that we've grown up in. It's the symptom of a sick society. And with that in mind, that means that we go into relationships with that unhealthy and not whole model of relating. And so what that means is, in the beginning, it's all wonderful, and generally, to a degree, and for most of us anyway. But at some point when we're in a relationship, we find ourselves trying to get most of our needs met by that one person. This is a common issue, and it's understandable, and especially if you are in lockdown or isolation. And when that happens, we start to eventually experience those parts of ourselves that have never matured, have never been loved, have never been held, have never been soothed. And they come into the relationship, and we start wanting them to be taken care of by our partner. And there's a whole conversation around that, and where do we draw the line, what's healthy, what's not healthy. But what that feeds into is our behavior in relationship of trying to get love. So we start to observe our partner's behavior, and we judge it based on our own internal filters of our inner experience, which is based on previous experience, previous relationships, or our upbringing. So we find ourselves wanting to get our partner to do things for us and to make us feel a certain way. I do this in my relationship. I ask my partner to do something for me, and if he doesn't do it, then that means ... And what it means is that I'm not being loved in one way or another. Now, this is a whole area of behavior that needs to be worked on for everybody, really. But what I want to speak to is how we can circumvent that behavior and bring love, the feeling of love, into our relationship. A quick way, a healthy way to start feeling love, staying in love in your relationship, rather than constantly analyzing your partner's behavior and how it's not serving you and not feeding those needs within you, instead bringing more focus into loving that person. And when I say loving them, I don't mean in a romantic way, like making them a nice dinner or a nice bath or something. I mean actually looking at them and loving them the way that you would a child, for instance. And when I say that, I don't mean let them be childish or enable childish behavior, but that sort of compassion, understanding and care. So, if you're a partner, so I'll give you a good example in my own life. Yesterday, my husband came in from doing what he was doing and he was making dinner. It was his night to make dinner. And he was in a really shit mood and he was kind of grumpy. And my initial response is to feel like, why are you grumpy? And, take care of your energy. Don't bring that energy into the household. And where does that come from me, though? That comes from an internal experience inside myself of feeling like it's my fault and wanting him to be happy so that I feel like I haven't done anything wrong. But the alternative choice, the other behavior, to bring love into our relationship and to feel love myself. So ultimately what I want is to be in love more of the time. So the alternate behavior in that situation is to recognize that he's in a shitty mood. And when you are loving somebody, when you're loving on them, when you're bringing lovingness to that person, then when they're in that state, you want to hold them. You want to love them. And there is a fine line between enabling and loving. But just like I would scoop up my 4-year-old and give him a hug, the behavior that I can bring into that situation with my husband is instead to see that he's shitty, get out of his way for starters, because I know that helps him to find his space, or go up and rub his back, or give him a big cuddle, or slap him on the bum. For my husband, those are all ways to kind of get him into he feels loved by that. Now, when I've done that, what happens? He feels loved. So his energy already is starting to be in a loving space. But I am experiencing love inside myself. And if there's one thing that I really advocate for and really teach in my work, and that is that whatever experience you're wanting to have, you need to be it. You need to cultivate that experience inside of yourself. So to be loving to our partner. And yes, we have to sometimes get over our ego, because our ego tells us, oh, he doesn't deserve that, or he needs to give me more. But I promise you, if you start being loving more to your partner, you will start feeling love more. And one of two things will happen. One is that if you're in a loving state and they can't get on that frequency, can't get on that train with you, then your relationship will dissolve, but it'll dissolve in a way where you feel good and clear and certain because you're in that loving vibration. More certainly, or more often than not, the outcome of you being the one to be loving to your partner, what will happen is they will quickly get on your frequency. And I see this happen in my own relationship all the time. I see it happen with other people all the time. I see it happen in marriages that have been on the brink of divorce, seriously on the brink of divorce. Hi, Ben. Hi, Holly. Hi, gorgeous people. Thanks for watching. And it just changes things. And your relationship will just take a 360. You all of a sudden feel love. They feel love. Therefore, your relationship is in a loving space. It's an extremely helpful, quick, responsible way to change things. And this is one of the ways that your relationship can be in line with your spiritual or evolutionary path, because ultimately, whatever practice you do or however you're on your path to evolution, what we know for certain is that to evolve we need to be more and more in that space of love. So if you can actually make your relationship your practice, how can I be more loving? How can I be more loving now? How can I be more loving to this person? How can I be more loving to my partner? How can I be more loving to my children now? And it becomes about you, because the thing is, it's one thing to think, oh, I should be loving to this person because they're nice and kind and I want to be nice to them. That will go and get you so far. The motivation for human beings is always about ourselves. Even when you're being really altruistic, the motivation needs to be about you. So as you remind yourself that, oh, if I be more loving to my partner, then I am A, evolving, and B, I'm going to feel better and happier and they're going to be nicer to me. So it's ultimately, it's about me. That motivation is the motivation that'll keep you going. Hopefully there is something in that for those of you watching. And then it may bring up some questions, clearly, because there are some areas there that need to be understood, especially around enabling, and perhaps I'll speak to that further down the track. If you have any questions about this, then pop it in the comments. If you've gotten something out of this, share it. And I will remind you, for the women watching, this Tuesday night, which is the 1st of September, I'll be doing my first monthly live Zoom masterclass. So if you want to join up, you can. I'm giving this month for free. I'll put the link in the comments. And after that, it's only $17 a month. And what you get from that is live Zoom conference with me and a bunch of other people, mostly people who've done my work. So there's a really great element of wisdom and awareness there. You can ask me questions live. You can send me questions and I will answer your actual questions. So I've developed this as a way for people to get a taste of what it's like to have some personal coaching without the big price tag and without the huge investment, especially at this time when a lot of us are struggling in our relationships and, you know, we don't all have a huge amount of money to invest. So I wanted to create something that people can really get real true value out of in a way that they can afford, both energetically, time-wise and financially. So if you want to join in, sign up and I'll put the link in the comments. Thanks for watching. Much love to you all.